Build confidence, build success. Confidence is not something you are born with once and keep forever. It is not a gift reserved for the lucky, the talented, or the naturally bold. Confidence is a skill. It is built slowly, patiently, and intentionally, just like success. This book was written with one clear belief at its core. When you build confidence from the inside out, success becomes a natural result rather than a distant dream. Success is not only about intelligence, opportunity, or hard work. It is deeply connected to how you see yourself, how you speak to yourself, and how much you trust your own ability to learn, grow, and persist. Many people move through life carrying powerful dreams but weak self-belief. They want more from their careers, relationships, finances, and personal lives, but feel held back by doubt, fear of failure, or the quiet voice inside that says, "I'm not good enough yet." Over time, these doubts become habits. They shape decisions, limit actions, and slowly shrink potential. This book exists to challenge those habits and replace them with a stronger foundation, confidence that is realistic, grounded, and resilient. Confidence does not mean arrogance, perfection, or the absence of fear. In fact, truly confident people still feel fear, uncertainty, and hesitation. The difference is that they act anyway. They move forward despite discomfort. They trust themselves enough to try, to fail, to learn, and to try again. This book will show you that confidence is not about never falling. It is about knowing you can stand up again. When you develop that inner trust, success stops feeling like a fragile possibility and starts becoming a process you can repeat. We live in a world that constantly measures success by external results, money, titles, recognition, and social approval. While these outcomes matter, they are not the starting point. The starting point is internal. Before you can consistently achieve external success, you must first build internal stability. Confidence is that stability. It shapes how you respond to challenges, how you handle criticism, and how you stay committed when motivation fades. Without confidence, success feels stressful and temporary. With confidence, even setbacks become useful steps forward. This book is designed to take you on a journey, not a quick fix, not a collection of empty motivational phrases, but a deep and practical transformation. You will explore how confidence is formed, how it is damaged, and most importantly, how it can be rebuilt at any stage of life. Whether you are starting from zero, recovering from failure, or trying to reach a higher level of performance, the principles in this book are meant to meet you where you are and move you forward. You may have tried before. You may have read other books, watched motivational videos, or set ambitious goals, only to feel inspired for a short time and then fall back into old patterns. This happens because confidence cannot be sustained by motivation alone. Motivation is emotional and temporary. Confidence is structural and lasting. This book focuses on building structures, daily habits, thought patterns, behaviors, and decisions that slowly but permanently strengthen your sense of self-belief. Another core idea of this book is that success is personal. Society often defines success for us, pushing one model that everyone is expected to follow. But real success aligns with your values, your strengths, and your vision for your life. Confidence gives you the courage to define success on your own terms and the discipline to pursue it consistently. When confidence and purpose work together, your actions become clearer, your focus sharper, and your progress more meaningful. Throughout this book, you will learn how confidence influences every area of life. It affects how you speak, how you walk, how you make decisions, and how others respond to you. People often believe confidence comes after success, but in reality, confidence often comes first. Small acts of courage, speaking up, setting boundaries, taking responsibility, and showing up even when you feel unprepared, create evidence that you can trust yourself. That evidence compounds over time, turning doubt into belief and belief into results. This book also recognizes that confidence is not built in isolation. Past experiences, upbringing, failures, criticism, and comparison with others all shape how you see yourself. You will not be asked to ignore these influences or pretend they do not exist. Instead, you will learn how to understand them, reframe them, and prevent them from controlling your future. Confidence grows when you stop fighting who you were and start building who you are becoming. Build Confidence, Build Success is both a guide and a companion. It speaks to the part of you that knows you are capable of more, but needs clarity, structure, and reassurance to move forward. It is written for those who are tired of waiting to feel ready, tired of doubting themselves, and tired of seeing others live boldly while they remain stuck in hesitation. You do not need to become a different person to succeed. You need to become more aligned with your true potential. As you move through the pages of this book, you will be encouraged to take responsibility for your growth without blaming yourself for the past. Confidence is not about being harsh or demanding. It's about being honest and consistent. Each chapter is designed to help you strengthen your mindset, take practical action, and develop a healthier relationship with effort, failure, and progress. The goal is not instant transformation, but lasting change. By the end of this book, confidence will no longer feel like a mysterious trait other people possess. It will feel like something you are actively building, day by day, through deliberate choices and small victories. And as your confidence grows, success will stop feeling like pressure and start feeling like a natural extension of who you are becoming. This is your starting point, not because you are weak, broken, or behind, but because you are ready. Ready to trust yourself, ready to grow, and ready to build a life where confidence is your foundation and success is the result. Chapter 1: The Foundation of Confidence. Confidence is not a sudden transformation that happens overnight, nor is it a personality trait that some people are lucky enough to be born with while others are left without it. Confidence is a foundation, and like any strong foundation, it is built slowly, layer by layer, through understanding, action, and repetition. Before success can grow in your life in a stable and lasting way, confidence must exist beneath it, supporting every decision, effort, and risk you take. Without this foundation, even the greatest opportunities can feel heavy, stressful, and fragile. Many people misunderstand confidence because they only see its external expression. They see confident people speaking clearly, making decisions quickly, and moving through life with apparent ease. What they do not see is the internal work that made this possible. Confidence begins internally, long before it shows on the outside. It begins with how you think about yourself when no one is watching, how you respond to your own mistakes, and how you interpret challenges when things do not go as planned. At its core, confidence is self-trust. It is the belief that no matter what happens, you can handle it, learn from it, and adopt. This does not mean you believe you will always succeed. On the contrary, confident people accept the possibility of failure, but they do not allow it to define their worth or stop their progress. They trust their ability to recover. This trust becomes a quiet strength that guides them forward even in uncertain situations. Most confidence problems do not come from a lack of ability, intelligence, or potential. They come from repeated negative experiences that were never properly processed. A failure that was taken personally, criticism that was internalized as truth, comparison that slowly convinced you that you were behind or inferior. Over time, these experiences form invisible rules in the mind. I'm not good at this. I always mess things up, or others are better than me. These rules operate silently, influencing choices and limiting action without ever being questioned. This chapter is about identifying those invisible rules and understanding where they come from. You cannot build confidence on top of beliefs that constantly pull you down. Awareness is the first step. When you begin to notice the patterns in your thinking, especially the moments when you hesitate, avoid, or underestimate yourself, you gain power over them.
Confidence grows not from denying doubt, but from understanding it.
Another important truth about confidence is that it is built through action, not waiting. Many people tell themselves they will act once they feel confident, but confidence rarely comes first. Action comes first. Small, imperfect actions send a powerful message to your mind. I am capable of trying. Each action becomes evidence. Each attempt weakens fear and strengthens belief. Over time, these small pieces of evidence accumulate into a solid sense of self-trust. However, action alone is not enough if it is driven by harsh self-judgment. Confidence cannot grow in an environment of constant self-criticism. If every mistake becomes proof that you are not good enough, your mind will associate effort with pain, and avoidance will feel safer. This is why compassion is a crucial part of confidence. Being kind to yourself does not mean lowering standards or avoiding responsibility. It means allowing yourself to learn without punishment. Growth requires patience, and patience requires self-respect. Confidence is also closely tied to identity. How you see yourself determines how you behave. If you see yourself as someone who lacks confidence, your actions will unconsciously reinforce that identity. But identities are not fixed. They are shaped by repeated behaviors and reinforced by language. When you begin to act like someone who is learning to trust themselves by showing up, trying again, and staying consistent, you slowly become that person. Confidence follows identity, not the other way around. This chapter also challenges the idea that confidence means being fearless. Fear is a natural response to uncertainty, change, and growth. The goal is not to eliminate fear, but to stop letting it control your decisions. Confidence allows fear to exist without giving it authority. You move forward not because you feel brave, but because you believe forward movement matters more than comfort. This shift alone can transform how you approach challenges. As you start building your foundation, it is important to redefine failure. Failure is not proof of inadequacy. It is information. It shows you what worked, what didn't, and what needs adjustment. When you treat failure as feedback instead of judgment, confidence grows naturally. You stop fearing mistakes and start using them. This mindset removes the emotional weight from trying and replaces it with curiosity and resilience. Environment also plays a powerful role in confidence. The people you surround yourself with, the content you consume, and the standards you accept all influence how you see yourself. While you cannot control everything around you, you can choose what you allow to shape your thinking. Confidence strengthens when you reduce constant comparison, set boundaries with negativity, and intentionally expose yourself to ideas that support growth rather than limitation. By the end of this chapter, one idea should be clear. Confidence is not something you wait for, wish for, or magically discover. It is something you build deliberately. It starts with awareness, grows through action, and is protected by self-respect. This foundation may feel weak at first, but strength comes from consistency, not intensity. Small steps, repeated daily, create unshakable belief over time. This is where your journey begins, not with pressure to be perfect, but with permission to start. You do not need to have everything figured out. You only need the willingness to trust yourself enough to take the next step. Confidence is built by those who move forward despite uncertainty, and success belongs to those who refuse to give up on themselves. Chapter 2: Understanding Fear and Breaking Self-Doubt. Fear and self-doubt are not signs of weakness. They are natural responses of the human mind when it faces uncertainty, responsibility, or change. Almost every person who strives for something meaningful experiences them. Yet, for many people, fear becomes a barrier rather than a signal, and self-doubt becomes a constant voice rather than a temporary thought. To build confidence and move towards success, you must first understand these inner forces instead of fighting them blindly. Fear often appears when you are about to grow. It shows up before new opportunities, difficult conversations, important decisions, or moments of visibility. The mind interprets the unknown as a potential threat and tries to protect you by urging caution, hesitation, or withdrawal. In small amounts, this protective instinct is useful, but when fear becomes dominant, it limits your actions and quietly shapes a smaller version of your life. Self-doubt works closely with fear. It questions your ability, your worth, and your readiness. It whispers that you are not prepared enough, not skilled enough, or not deserving enough. Over time, if unchallenged, these thoughts begin to feel like facts. You may stop trying not because you truly cannot succeed, but because you no longer believe you can. This is how potential is slowly buried under hesitation. One of the most important steps in building confidence is learning to separate facts from thoughts. A fact is something that can be proven. A thought is an interpretation, often influenced by emotion or past experience. When you think, "I will fail," that is not a fact, it is a prediction. When you think, "Others are better than me," that is a comparison, not a truth. Confidence grows when you learn to question these thoughts instead of obeying them automatically. Much of self-doubt is rooted in past experiences, a mistake that led to embarrassment, a failure that attracted criticism, a moment where effort was not rewarded. The mind stores these memories and uses them as references for future situations. While the intention is protection, the result is often limitation. Understanding this allows you to stop blaming yourself for doubt and start working with it consciously. Another powerful source of fear is the desire for approval. Many people fear failure not because of the failure itself, but because of how others might judge them. This external focus weakens confidence because it places control outside of you. When your self-worth depends on others' opinions, your actions become cautious and restricted. Confidence strengthens when you shift your focus inward and begin measuring success by effort, growth, and integrity rather than applause. Fear also grows when perfection becomes the standard. If you believe you must perform flawlessly to be worthy, every action feels risky. Perfectionism creates paralysis. It convinces you that it is safer to delay than to try imperfectly. Breaking this pattern requires accepting that progress is messy and that learning happens through mistakes. Confidence is not built by doing things perfectly, it is built by doing things repeatedly. One of the most effective ways to weaken fear is exposure through small steps. Confidence does not demand bold leaps at the beginning. It grows through gradual challenges that stretch your comfort zone without overwhelming you. Each small success sends a message to your mind. I survived this. I learned something. I can handle more. Over time, fear loses its intensity because it is no longer unfamiliar. Language plays a critical role in self-doubt. The words you use internally shape how you feel and act. Phrases like, "I can't," "I always fail," or "I'm not that kind of person" reinforce limitation. Replacing them with more accurate and compassionate language does not mean lying to yourself. It means allowing room for growth. Saying, "I'm learning," "I'm improving," or "I'm willing to try" opens the door for confidence to develop. It is also important to understand that confidence does not require the absence of doubt. Waiting for doubt to disappear before taking action will keep you stuck. Confident people act with doubt present. They acknowledge it, but they do not let it make decisions for them. This ability to move forward despite internal resistance is one of the strongest indicators of self-belief. As you work through fear and self-doubt, patience becomes essential. These patterns were built over years, and they do not dissolve instantly. Progress may feel slow at times, but every conscious step weakens old habits and strengthens new ones. Confidence is not proven in dramatic moments, but in quiet consistency. By the end of this chapter, you should understand that fear and self-doubt are not enemies to be destroyed, but signals to be understood. They point to areas where growth is needed and where courage can be developed. When you stop letting them define you and start using them as information, confidence begins to take root. You are not broken because you feel fear. You are human. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stuck is not the absence of doubt, but the decision to move forward anyway. As you learn to face fear with awareness and respond to doubt with action, you begin to build a confidence that is calm, realistic, and powerful. Chapter 3: Building Confidence Through Action and Consistency. Confidence does not grow in theory, it grows in motion. While understanding your fears and doubts is essential, confidence truly begins to strengthen when thought turns into action. Action is the bridge between who you are now and who you are becoming. Without it, confidence remains an idea rather than a lived experience. This chapter focuses on one of the most important truths in personal growth. Confidence is built by doing, not by waiting. Many people believe they must feel confident before they take action. This belief keeps them trapped in preparation, planning, and hesitation. They read, learn, and think, hoping that one day they will feel ready. But readiness is not a feeling that arrives on its own. It is created through experience. Action comes first, and confidence follows as a result of repeated effort and survival of discomfort. Every time you take action despite uncertainty, you send a powerful signal to your mind. I am capable of trying. This signal matters more than the outcome. Whether the result is success or failure, the act of showing up builds self-trust. Over time, your mind begins to associate effort with growth instead of danger. This is how confidence becomes stable rather than fragile. Small actions are especially important at the beginning. Trying to change everything at once often leads to overwhelm and burnout. Confidence grows faster when you focus on manageable steps that you can repeat daily. These small commitments, speaking up once, practicing a skill for a few minutes, finishing a task you usually avoid, may seem insignificant, but they create momentum. Consistency turns small actions into powerful habits. Consistency is the quiet force behind confidence. It is not dramatic or exciting, but it is effective. When you keep promises to yourself, even small ones, your self-respect increases. You begin to trust your word. This trust becomes the emotional foundation of confidence. On the other hand, repeatedly abandoning your intentions weakens self-belief, even if the goals themselves were unrealistic. Confidence grows when your actions align with your intentions. Another important aspect of action-based confidence is learning to detach from immediate results. When confidence depends only on outcomes, it becomes unstable. A single failure can erase weeks of progress. Instead, confidence should be rooted in effort and improvement. When you judge yourself by how consistently you show up rather than by how perfect the result is, setbacks lose their power to discourage you. Discomfort is an unavoidable part of growth. Taking action often feels awkward, uncertain, or uncomfortable, especially at the beginning. This discomfort does not mean you were doing something wrong. It means you are expanding your capacity. Learning to tolerate discomfort without retreating is a key confidence skill. Each time you stay present in discomfort and complete the action anyway, your resilience increases. Confidence also grows when you track progress honestly. Many people overlook their growth because they focus only on what is missing. Taking time to acknowledge effort, improvement, and persistence reinforces positive behavior. This does not mean exaggerating achievements, but recognizing reality. Progress, even when slow, is proof that change is happening. Another powerful practice is repetition. Confidence strengthens when skills are practiced regularly, not when they are performed once perfectly. Repetition removes mystery and fear. The more familiar an action becomes, the less emotional weight it carries. What once felt intimidating becomes routine. This is how confident behavior is formed, not through talent, but through exposure and practice. It is also important to understand that inconsistency does not equal failure. Everyone stumbles. Everyone misses days, loses focus, or falls back into old patterns at times. What matters is the response. Returning to action without self-criticism keeps confidence intact. Harsh judgment, on the other hand, turns small setbacks into excuses to quit. Confidence survives when you choose persistence over perfection.
By the end of this chapter, you should see action not as a test of your worth, but as a tool for your growth. Each step you take, no matter how small, adds strength to your belief in yourself. Confidence is not built by thinking about change, but by participating in it. Success is not reserved for the most confident people. Confidence is built by those who are willing to act before they feel ready and remain consistent even when progress feels slow. When action becomes your habit and consistency becomes your identity, confidence stops being something you chase and starts being something you live.
Chapter 4. Rewriting Your Inner Dialogue. The way you speak to yourself shapes the way you live your life. Long before actions are taken or decisions are made, an internal conversation is already guiding your direction. This inner dialogue, often quiet, automatic, and unnoticed, can either strengthen your confidence or slowly erode it. In this chapter, you will learn that confidence is not only built through external action, but also through the words, interpretations, and meanings you repeat inside your mind every day. Most people would never speak to others the way they speak to themselves. A single mistake can trigger harsh judgments, absolute conclusions, and negative labels. I'm not good enough. I always mess things up, or I'll never succeed may feel like honest reflections, but they are usually emotional reactions rather than objective truths. Over time, these repeated statements form an internal environment where confidence struggles to survive. Your inner dialogue is shaped by past experiences, authority figures, cultural messages, and personal disappointments. Many of the thoughts you have today were learned, not chosen. They became habits through repetition. The good news is that anything learned can be unlearned and replaced. Rewriting your inner dialogue does not require pretending everything is perfect. It requires learning to speak to yourself with accuracy, fairness, and purpose. The first step in changing inner dialogue is awareness. You cannot change what you do not notice. Pay attention to the moments when you feel anxious, discouraged, or hesitant. Ask yourself what you are saying internally at those times. Often you will find exaggerated conclusions, all or nothing thinking, or predictions based on fear rather than evidence. Simply noticing these patterns begins to weaken their control. Once you become aware of negative self-talk, the goal is not to silence it completely. Trying to eliminate thoughts often makes them stronger. Instead, you learn to challenge and redirect them. When a critical thought appears, question its truth. Is it a fact or an assumption? Is it based on one experience or a consistent pattern? Would you say this to someone you care about? These questions introduce logic and compassion into your thinking.
Chapter 4. Rewriting Your Inner Dialogue. The way you speak to yourself shapes the way you live your life. Long before actions are taken or decisions are made, an internal conversation is already guiding your direction. This inner dialogue, often quiet, automatic, and unnoticed, can either strengthen your confidence or slowly erode it. In this chapter, you will learn that confidence is not only built through external action, but also through the words, interpretations, and meanings you repeat inside your mind every day. Most people would never speak to others the way they speak to themselves. A single mistake can trigger harsh judgments, absolute conclusions, and negative labels. I'm not good enough, I always mess things up, or I'll never succeed may feel like honest reflections, but they are usually emotional reactions rather than objective truths. Over time, these repeated statements form an internal environment where confidence struggles to survive. Your inner dialogue is shaped by past experiences, authority figures, cultural messages, and personal disappointments. Many of the thoughts you have today were learned, not chosen. They became habits through repetition. The good news is that anything learned can be unlearned and replaced. Rewriting your inner dialogue does not require pretending everything is perfect. It requires learning to speak to yourself with accuracy, fairness, and purpose. The first step in changing inner dialogue is awareness. You cannot change what you do not notice. Pay attention to the moments when you feel anxious, discouraged, or hesitant. Ask yourself what you are saying internally at those times. Often, you'll find exaggerated conclusions, all or nothing thinking, or predictions based on fear rather than evidence. Simply noticing these patterns begins to weaken their control. Once you become aware of negative self-talk, the goal is not to silence it completely. Trying to eliminate thoughts often makes them stronger. Instead, you learn to challenge and redirect them. When a critical thought appears, question its truth. Is it a fact or an assumption? Is it based on one experience or a consistent pattern? Would you say this to someone you care about? These questions introduce logic and compassion into your thinking.
Replacing negative self-talk does not mean using unrealistic affirmations that your mind rejects. Confidence grows through believable, grounded language. Statements such as, "I am learning," "I can improve with effort," or "this is difficult but I can handle it," are powerful because they reflect reality while encouraging growth. Over time, these new statements create a healthier mental foundation. Your inner dialogue also influences how you interpret failure. A setback can either become proof of inadequacy or a lesson in progress. The words you choose determine which interpretation you accept. When failure is met with curiosity instead of judgment, confidence remains intact. You stay open to learning instead of closing yourself off through shame. Another important aspect of inner dialogue is how you describe yourself. Labels are powerful. When you repeatedly call yourself shy, unlucky, or incapable, your behavior aligns with those identities. Changing your language helps change your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who is developing confidence rather than someone who lacks it. This shift creates permission to grow instead of pressure to be perfect. Consistency is crucial in this process. Rewriting inner dialogue is not a one-time exercise. It is a daily practice. Old patterns will return, especially under stress. Each time you consciously choose a healthier response, you strengthen a new mental pathway. Confidence grows quietly as your mind becomes a place of support rather than sabotage. It is also important to understand that positive inner dialogue does not eliminate challenges. Life will still test you. Doubt will still appear. The difference is that you will no longer turn every difficulty into a personal attack. You will face challenges with steadiness rather than self-blame. By the end of this chapter, you should recognize that confidence is deeply connected to how you interpret your experiences. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can influence the meaning you assign to it. When your inner dialogue becomes constructive, patient, and encouraging, confidence becomes sustainable. The voice inside your head is the one you hear the most. When you learn to make it an ally instead of an enemy, you create a mental environment where confidence can grow naturally and success can take root without constant resistance. Chapter 5: Resilience, Failure, and the Confidence to Continue. No path toward success is free from obstacles. Setbacks, mistakes, and moments of disappointment are not interruptions of the journey. They are the journey. What separates those who grow in confidence from those who retreat is not the absence of failure, but the ability to respond to it with resilience. This chapter explores how confidence is strengthened not in moments of ease, but in moments when you choose to continue despite difficulty. Failure often feels personal. When something does not work out, the mind quickly searches for meaning, and too often that meaning becomes self-blame. You may begin to question your ability, your decisions, or your worth. Over time, this pattern can make failure feel dangerous, something to be avoided at all costs. But avoidance weakens confidence, while engagement builds it. Confidence grows when you learn to face failure without letting it define you. Resilience is the ability to recover, adapt, and move forward after setbacks. It is not about ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. It is about allowing disappointment to exist without letting it stop your progress. Resilient people feel frustration and doubt, but they do not let those emotions become permanent states. They process them, learn from them, and then act again. One of the most important shifts in building resilience is changing your relationship with failure. Failure is not a verdict, it is feedback. It shows you what needs adjustment, not what needs abandonment. When you view failure as information, you remove its emotional weight. You stop seeing it as proof that you are incapable and start seeing it as part of the learning process. Confidence is deeply influenced by how you speak to yourself after a setback. Harsh self-criticism may feel motivating, but it usually creates fear and avoidance. Encouraging, honest reflection creates growth. Asking questions like, "What can I learn from this?" or "What can I do differently next time?" keeps you engaged and forward-focused. This approach builds confidence because it reinforces your ability to adapt. Another key aspect of resilience is patience. Progress is rarely linear. There will be periods of visible improvement and periods where growth feels slow or invisible. During these times, many people quit not because they are incapable, but because they misinterpret delay as failure. Confidence grows when you understand that persistence during slow periods is what separates temporary effort from lasting success. Resilience also requires emotional regulation. Strong emotions can distort perception, making challenges seem bigger and more permanent than they are. Learning to pause, breathe, and regain perspective helps prevent emotional reactions from becoming permanent decisions. Confidence is preserved when you respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively.
Support systems play an important role in resilience. While confidence is built internally, it is strengthened through healthy external connections. Encouragement, guidance, and honest feedback from others can help you regain balance when self-doubt becomes loud. Seeking support is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of commitment to growth. It is also important to recognize that resilience is built through repetition. Each time you recover from a setback, your confidence increases. You begin to trust your ability to handle challenges. Over time, fear of failure decreases because experience has shown you that failure is survivable and useful. By the end of this chapter, you should understand that confidence is not proven by uninterrupted success, but by persistence through difficulty. Every setback you face and overcome adds depth to your self-belief. Confidence becomes stronger not because life becomes easier, but because you become more capable. Success belongs to those who are willing to continue after disappointment, to learn after mistakes, and to stand up after falling. When resilience becomes part of your identity, confidence follows naturally and progress becomes inevitable.
Chapter 6: Confidence in Relationships and Communication. Confidence is not built only in solitude. It is tested, shaped, and strengthened through interaction with others. The way you communicate, set boundaries, express needs, and respond to people plays a major role in how confident you feel in daily life. Many confidence struggles do not appear when you are alone, but when you are speaking, listening, agreeing, or disagreeing with others. This chapter explores how confidence grows through healthy communication and balanced relationships. At the heart of confident communication is clarity. When you are clear about what you think, feel, and need, you are less likely to feel anxious or resentful. Lack of confidence often shows up as over-explaining, people-pleasing, or silence. You may say yes when you want to say no, agree when you feel uncertain, or stay quiet to avoid conflict. While these behaviors may create short-term comfort, they weaken confidence over time because they disconnect you from your own truth. Confidence in communication does not mean dominating conversations or always being right. It means expressing yourself honestly while respecting others. It is the balance between assertiveness and empathy. Assertiveness allows you to speak up without aggression. Empathy allows you to listen without losing yourself. When both are present, communication becomes a source of strength rather than stress. Many people fear expressing their thoughts because they associate disagreement with rejection. They worry that speaking honestly will lead to conflict or loss of approval. This fear often comes from past experiences where opinions were dismissed or punished. Understanding this helps you separate past emotional memories from present reality. Not every disagreement is a threat, and not every boundary leads to rejection. Setting boundaries is one of the strongest expressions of confidence. Boundaries define what you accept, what you value, and how you expect to be treated. Without boundaries, relationships become draining and unbalanced. With boundaries, relationships become clearer and healthier. Setting boundaries may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you are not used to prioritizing yourself. But discomfort is a sign of growth, not selfishness. Listening is also a powerful confidence skill. Confident listening means being present without preparing a defense or seeking validation. It allows you to absorb information calmly and respond thoughtfully. When you trust yourself, you do not feel the need to interrupt, impress, or constantly explain. This calm presence often earns respect naturally. Confidence in relationships also involves choosing the right environments. Not every relationship supports growth. Constant criticism, comparison, or manipulation can slowly erode self-belief. While you cannot control others, you can control how much influence they have over you. Confidence strengthens when you surround yourself with people who encourage honesty, growth, and mutual respect. Another important aspect is learning to handle feedback. Feedback can trigger defensiveness or self-doubt if confidence is fragile. With stronger confidence, feedback becomes information rather than a personal attack. You learn to take what is useful and leave what is not. This ability protects your self-worth while allowing improvement.
It is also important to release the need to be liked by everyone. Seeking universal approval is exhausting and unrealistic. Confidence grows when you accept that not everyone will agree with you or understand you, and that this is okay. Your value is not measured by consensus. It is measured by alignment with your values and integrity. By the end of this chapter, you should see communication as a practice of self-respect rather than performance. Each honest conversation, each boundary set, and each moment of calm expression adds to your confidence. Relationships become places of connection instead of tension when you show up as yourself without apology. When you communicate with clarity and respect, confidence becomes visible without force. You no longer need to prove your worth. You simply express it through your presence, your words, and your choices. Chapter 7. Self-discipline, habits, and sustainable confidence. Confidence that depends only on mood or motivation is unstable. Some days you feel strong and capable. Other days you feel uncertain and hesitant. To build confidence that lasts, you need structure. Self-discipline and habits provide that structure. They turn confidence from an emotion into a system, something you can rely on even when motivation is low and circumstances are difficult. Self-discipline is often misunderstood as harsh control or constant pressure. In reality, it is an act of self-respect. It is the ability to choose long-term growth over short-term comfort. Each disciplined action is a message to yourself that your goals matter and that you can be trusted to follow through. Over time, this trust becomes confidence. Habits play a central role in shaping identity. What you do repeatedly becomes who you believe you are. If you consistently avoid challenges, confidence weakens. If you consistently show up, even imperfectly, confidence strengthens. Habits remove the need for constant decision-making and emotional effort. They make progress automatic rather than exhausting. One of the strongest confidence-building habits is keeping promises to yourself. These promises do not need to be dramatic. Small commitments, waking up on time, practicing a skill daily, finishing tasks you start, create internal alignment. When your actions match your intentions, self-doubt loses power. You stop questioning whether you are capable because your behavior provides evidence. Discipline also protects confidence during difficult periods. When emotions fluctuate or external validation is absent, habits keep you moving forward. You no longer rely on feeling confident to act. You act because it is part of who you are. This consistency creates a calm, steady form of confidence that does not collapse under pressure. Another important aspect of discipline is learning to manage energy, not just time. Overworking leads to burnout, which weakens confidence. Sustainable confidence grows when you respect rest, recovery, and balance. Discipline includes knowing when to push and when to pause. This self-awareness strengthens resilience and prevents self-sabotage.
Habits also reduce fear by increasing familiarity. Repeated exposure to challenging tasks makes them less intimidating. What once felt overwhelming becomes routine. Confidence grows naturally as your nervous system adapts. You stop seeing effort as a threat and start seeing it as normal. It is important to build habits gradually. Trying to change everything at once often leads to frustration and failure. Confidence grows when goals are realistic and progress is visible. Small habits practiced consistently create momentum. Momentum builds belief, and belief reinforces action. Discipline does not mean punishment for mistakes. Missing a day or breaking a habit is not failure. The real damage comes from quitting entirely or turning setbacks into excuses for self-criticism. Returning to the habit calmly preserves confidence. This ability to reset without drama is a powerful form of self-trust. By the end of this chapter, you should understand that confidence is not something you wait to feel. It is something you build through daily choices. Self-discipline and habits create stability, clarity, and direction. They remove uncertainty by replacing it with routine and commitment. When your actions consistently reflect your values, confidence becomes a natural byproduct. You no longer rely on motivation or external approval. You rely on yourself, and that is one of the strongest foundations success can stand on. Chapter 8: Vision, Purpose, and Confident Direction. Confidence grows faster when your actions are guided by meaning. Without a clear sense of direction, effort can feel random and exhausting, even when you are disciplined. Vision and purpose give confidence a destination. They answer the quiet question that often weakens motivation. Why am I doing this? When you know where you are going and why it matters to you, confidence becomes steadier and more intentional. Many people confuse purpose with a single, lifelong mission. In reality, purpose can evolve. It is not always a dramatic calling. Often, it is a clear intention to grow, contribute, or live with integrity. Purpose gives structure to your choices. It helps you say no to distractions and yes to actions that align with your values. This alignment reduces inner conflict and strengthens confidence. Vision is the ability to imagine a future that motivates you. It does not need to be perfect or detailed, but it must feel meaningful. When you can see a version of yourself who is growing, capable, and fulfilled, your actions gain context. Confidence increases because you are no longer acting blindly. You are moving towards something that matters to you. A clear vision also reduces comparison. When you know your own path, the success of others becomes less threatening. You stop measuring your progress against timelines that are not yours.
Confidence grows when you understand that success is personal and that different paths require different pacing. This perspective protects self-belief from unnecessary doubt. Purpose also helps you persist through difficulty. When challenges arise, a clear why provides emotional stability. You are more willing to tolerate discomfort when you understand its value. Confidence deepens because your effort feels meaningful rather than forced. You are not just reacting to circumstances, you are acting with intention. Another important element of confident direction is decision-making. Indecision often comes from fear of making the wrong choice. Purpose simplifies decisions by acting as a filter. Choices become easier when you ask whether they move you closer to or further from what matters to you. Confidence strengthens when decisions are made with clarity rather than fear. Vision must be supported by action to remain powerful. Without action, vision becomes fantasy. Small, consistent steps turn ideas into reality. Each step reinforces confidence because it proves that you are capable of translating intention into progress. Over time, vision becomes more concrete, and confidence becomes more grounded. It is also important to allow flexibility within your vision. Rigid plans can create pressure and disappointment when life changes. Confident direction allows adjustment without loss of purpose. You learn to adapt strategies while staying true to values. This adaptability builds resilience and prevents discouragement. By the end of this chapter, you should understand that confidence is strengthened by clarity of direction. Vision and purpose reduce doubt by giving meaning to effort and structure to growth. They turn daily actions into steps on a meaningful path. When you move with intention, confidence stops feeling uncertain. You know why you are moving forward, even when the road is difficult. Purpose becomes your anchor, and vision becomes your guide, allowing confidence and success to grow together in a balanced and sustainable way. Chapter 9. From Confidence to Success. Turning belief into results. Confidence reaches its full power when it is translated into results. Belief alone is not the destination, it is the fuel. This chapter focuses on the transition from internal strength to external achievement, how confidence, once built, can be directed toward meaningful success without becoming pressure, ego, or burnout. Success is not a sudden event. It is the outcome of aligned thinking, consistent action, and patient persistence. Many people build confidence but struggle to apply it effectively. They feel stronger internally, yet hesitate when it comes time to take responsibility, lead, or pursue bigger goals. This gap often exists because success is associated with risk, exposure, and judgment. Confidence allows you to face these realities without retreating. It gives you the emotional stability to act decisively while remaining flexible. Success becomes sustainable when confidence is paired with clear execution. This means setting realistic goals, breaking them into actionable steps, and committing to progress rather than perfection. Confidence does not demand flawless performance. It supports steady improvement. When goals are approached with confidence, obstacles become challenges to solve instead of signals to stop. One of the most important shifts at this stage is moving from preparation to ownership. Preparation builds skills, but ownership builds results. Ownership means taking responsibility for outcomes without blaming circumstances or others. It does not mean controlling everything. It means controlling effort, attitude, and response. This mindset strengthens confidence because it reinforces your sense of agency. Confidence also changes how you handle pressure. As responsibility increases, so does expectation. Without confidence, pressure leads to anxiety and self-doubt. With confidence, pressure becomes focus. You trust your ability to perform, adjust, and recover. This emotional control allows you to remain effective even in demanding situations. Another key aspect of turning confidence into success is learning to measure progress accurately. Success is often delayed, and impatience can weaken belief. Confident individuals track effort, improvement, and learning, not just final outcomes. This keeps motivation stable and prevents discouragement during slow periods. Confidence also influences how you respond to opportunity. Opportunities often come with uncertainty and incomplete information. Waiting for certainty can mean missing growth. Confidence allows you to step forward with courage while accepting risk. You trust your ability to learn as you go, which is essential for meaningful success. It is important to avoid confusing confidence with ego. Ego seeks validation and comparison. Confidence seeks growth and alignment. Ego collapses under criticism. Confidence uses feedback. Maintaining this distinction protects your progress and keeps success grounded and ethical. As success grows, consistency becomes more important than intensity. Confident individuals understand that long-term results come from sustained effort, not occasional bursts of energy. They pace themselves, protect their habits, and continue refining their approach. This discipline ensures that success remains stable rather than temporary. By the end of this chapter, you should see success as a process you can manage, not a reward you hope for. Confidence gives you the tools to engage with this process calmly and effectively. You stop chasing outcomes and start building systems that produce them. When belief is supported by action, clarity, and responsibility, success becomes a natural extension of confidence. You do not need to force it or fear it. You simply grow into it, step by step, decision by decision, guided by the self-trust you have built along the way. Chapter 10. Maintaining Confidence and Success for Life. Building confidence is a powerful achievement, but maintaining it over time is the true challenge. Life changes, circumstances shift, and new responsibilities appear. Success brings new expectations and with them new pressures. This final chapter focuses on how to protect, renew, and sustain confidence so that success remains balanced, meaningful, and long-lasting rather than temporary or exhausting. One of the most important truths about confidence is that it is dynamic, not fixed. There will be periods when it feels strong and periods when it feels weaker. This does not mean you are failing or going backward. It means you are human. Sustainable confidence allows for fluctuation without collapse. It is built on self-awareness rather than constant certainty. Long-term confidence depends on reflection. Regularly reviewing your actions, values, and progress keeps you aligned with your purpose. Reflection helps you correct course before frustration or burnout appear. It also allows you to recognize growth that may otherwise go unnoticed. Acknowledging how far you have come reinforces self-trust and prevents unnecessary self-doubt. Another key element of maintaining confidence is adaptability. Life will challenge your plans. Unexpected obstacles, changes, or losses can test even the strongest self-belief. Confidence remains intact when you allow yourself to adapt without self-blame. Flexibility is not weakness, it is intelligence. Those who adapt maintain momentum even when circumstances change. Rest and recovery are often overlooked but essential. Constant effort without renewal leads to exhaustion, which weakens confidence and clarity. Sustainable success includes knowing when to pause, reflect, and recharge. Rest is not a reward for productivity, it is a requirement for long-term effectiveness. Respecting your limits protects both confidence and health. Confidence also requires continued growth. Stagnation can quietly erode self-belief. Learning new skills, seeking new challenges, and remaining curious keep confidence alive. Growth does not always mean bigger goals. It can mean deeper understanding, better balance, or stronger relationships. Confidence thrives when you continue evolving. Another important practice is protecting your mental environment. The information you consume, the conversations you engage in, and the comparisons you allow influence your mindset. Maintaining confidence requires conscious boundaries. You choose what strengthens your focus and reduce what drains it. This discipline preserves clarity and emotional stability. Success should also be redefined over time. What once mattered may no longer align with who you are becoming. Sustainable confidence allows you to redefine success without guilt. You are allowed to change priorities, slow down, or pursue different forms of fulfillment. Confidence supports authenticity rather than obligation. Giving back is another powerful way to maintain confidence. Sharing knowledge, supporting others, or contributing meaningfully reinforces purpose. It shifts focus from self-validation to impact. Confidence deepens when success becomes more than personal achievement. It becomes contribution. By the end of this chapter, you should understand that confidence is a lifelong practice. It is maintained through awareness, balance, adaptability, and continued alignment with values. Success, when supported by these principles, becomes stable and fulfilling rather than stressful or empty. Your journey does not end here. It continues with every decision you make, every challenge you face, and every moment you choose to trust yourself. When confidence becomes part of how you live, not just something you build once, success becomes a natural and lasting companion in your life. Chapter 11. Confidence as Identity. Becoming who you believe you are. At the deepest level, confidence is not just something you practice, it is something you become. When confidence moves beyond actions and habits and settles into identity, it stops requiring constant effort. It becomes natural. This chapter explores the final transformation in your journey, the shift from building confidence to living as a confident person. This is where belief, behavior, and identity align. Identity is the story you tell yourself about who you are. It influences your decisions before logic has time to intervene. If you see yourself as someone who hesitates, doubts, or stays small, your behavior will quietly reinforce that belief. But if you begin to see yourself as someone who learns, adapts, and moves forward despite uncertainty, your actions will naturally follow. Confidence becomes automatic when it is rooted in identity rather than effort. This shift does not happen through words alone. Identity is shaped by repeated behavior. Every time you act in alignment with confidence, by speaking honestly, persisting through difficulty, or taking responsibility, you reinforce a new self-image. Over time, your mind stops questioning whether you are capable. It accepts capability as part of who you are. This is when confidence becomes stable and self-sustaining. One of the most powerful aspects of identity-based confidence is reduced internal conflict. When your actions match who you believe you are, decisions feel clearer and resistance decreases. You no longer debate every step or seek constant reassurance. You act from alignment, not pressure. This inner coherence creates calm confidence rather than forced confidence. Confidence as identity also changes how you experience challenges. Difficult situations no longer threaten your self-worth. They become expressions of growth. When confidence is part of who you are, failure does not shake your foundation. It simply informs your next move. You trust yourself to respond effectively, even when outcomes are uncertain. Another important element of confident identity is self-respect. You no longer tolerate patterns that undermine your growth, whether they come from external environments or internal habits. This does not make you rigid or defensive, it makes you intentional. You choose behaviors, relationships, and goals that reflect the person you are becoming. Identity-based confidence also removes the need for constant comparison. When you are grounded in who you are, other people's success no longer threatens you. It inspires or informs, but it does not define you. You understand that growth is personal and that your path does not need validation to be meaningful. It is important to understand that identity is not fixed. Confidence does not mean you stop evolving. On the contrary, confident identity includes flexibility. You remain open to learning, changing perspectives, and refining your values. Confidence is not certainty. It is trust in your ability to adapt without losing yourself. Living with confidence as identity also affects leadership, influence, and presence. You do not need to dominate or impress. Your calm consistency speaks for you. People sense alignment, and trust naturally follows. Confidence expressed through authenticity is far more powerful than confidence performed for approval. By the end of this chapter, you should recognize that confidence is no longer something outside you that must be built again and again. It is something you carry within how you think, choose, and respond. It shows in your behavior not because you try to appear confident, but because you are aligned with yourself. When confidence becomes identity, success becomes sustainable. You are no longer chasing a version of yourself, you are living it. And from that place, growth continues naturally, grounded in self-trust, clarity, and purpose.
Chapter 12. Living with confidence every day. A life of meaning and impact. Confidence reaches its highest expression when it becomes part of your everyday life, not something you turn on for special moments, but something that quietly guides how you think, choose, and act each day. This chapter brings everything together by focusing on how to live with confidence in ordinary moments where real life happens. Success is not built only in big decisions or visible achievements. It is shaped daily through small choices made with clarity, self-respect, and intention. Living with confidence every day means trusting yourself in simple situations. It shows in how you manage your time, how you speak to others, how you handle stress, and how you respond when things do not go as planned. These moments may seem small, but they define your experience of life. When confidence is present, daily life feels lighter and more intentional, even when responsibilities are heavy. One of the most important aspects of confident living is presence. Confident people are more present because they are not constantly second-guessing themselves or replaying past mistakes. They engage fully with what is in front of them. This presence improves focus, communication, and decision-making. When you are present, you act with clarity instead of anxiety, and confidence becomes visible without effort. Confident daily living also means taking responsibility without self-blame. Life will continue to present challenges, misunderstandings, and imperfect outcomes. Confidence allows you to take ownership of your role while remaining compassionate toward yourself. You learn to correct mistakes without turning them into personal judgments. This balance preserves emotional stability and keeps growth moving forward. Another key element of confident living is consistency with values. When your daily actions align with what matters to you, inner conflict decreases. You do not need constant validation because you know you are acting with integrity. Confidence deepens when you live in a way that feels honest and meaningful, even when no one is watching. Confident living also includes embracing simplicity. You no longer feel the need to overprove, over-explain, or overcommit. You choose quality over quantity and goals, relationships, and effort. This simplicity creates mental space and emotional calm, allowing confidence to remain steady rather than reactive. Impact naturally follows confident living. When you trust yourself, you show up more fully for others. You listen better, support more sincerely, and contribute more effectively. Confidence is not only personal, it is relational. Your calm, grounded presence influences environments and people around you in subtle but powerful ways. It is also important to accept that confident living does not mean a life without doubt. Doubt may still appear, especially in new situations. The difference is that doubt no longer controls your behavior. You acknowledge it and continue moving forward. Confidence is not the absence of uncertainty, it is the ability to act responsibly within it. As you integrate confidence into daily life, success becomes less about chasing outcomes and more about living well. Achievement still matters, but it is no longer the sole measure of worth. Fulfillment comes from alignment, contribution, and growth. Confidence supports a life that feels intentional rather than rushed, meaningful rather than performative. By the end of this chapter, you should understand that confidence is not a destination you arrive at once and for all. It is a way of living, a steady relationship with yourself built on trust, awareness, and consistent action. When lived daily, confidence becomes quiet strength, guiding you through both ordinary days and extraordinary moments. This is the completion of one journey and the beginning of another. The tools, insights, and principles in this book are not meant to stay on these pages. They are meant to be lived. When you choose to live with confidence every day, success stops being something you chase and becomes something you embody. Chapter 13. Legacy, Growth, and the Confidence You Leave Behind. Confidence is not only about how you live your life today, it is also about the mark you leave behind. At this stage of the journey, confidence expands beyond personal success and becomes something deeper: legacy. Legacy is not measured only by achievements, titles, or recognition. It is measured by growth, influence, and the way your presence shapes the lives and environments around you. This chapter explores how confidence matures into lasting impact. As confidence strengthens, your focus naturally shifts. You begin to care less about proving yourself and more about expressing yourself. Your energy moves from validation to contribution. This is a powerful transition. When confidence is no longer fragile, it frees you to think long-term, act responsibly, and invest in things that outlast immediate rewards. Growth becomes less about winning and more about becoming. True legacy begins with consistency of character. Confident individuals are reliable not because they are perfect, but because they are aligned. Their words and actions match. Over time, this alignment builds trust with themselves and with others. People may forget what you achieved, but they remember how you made them feel, how you treated challenges, and how you responded under pressure. Confidence expressed through integrity leaves a lasting impression. Growth at this level requires humility. Confidence does not mean believing you have arrived. It means knowing you can continue to learn. Staying open to feedback, new perspectives, and change keeps confidence flexible rather than rigid. Growth-minded confidence allows you to evolve without losing stability. It understands that improvement is a lifelong process, not a final destination. Another important aspect of legacy is mentorship, whether formal or informal. When you live confidently, others notice. Your habits, choices, and resilience become examples. You may not realize it, but your way of handling adversity, maintaining discipline, or communicating calmly can inspire others to believe in themselves. Confidence multiplies when it is modeled, not preached. Legacy also involves how you handle power and responsibility. As confidence and success grow, so does influence. How you use that influence matters. Confidence grounded in values leads to ethical decisions, fair leadership, and responsible action. It avoids ego and embraces accountability. This kind of confidence strengthens communities rather than dominating them. Conclusion. Build confidence, build success. Confidence is not a single decision or a moment of inspiration. It is a journey, one that begins with self-awareness and continues through action, resilience, discipline, and purpose. Throughout this book, you have seen that confidence is not reserved for a select few, nor is it something that appears only after success is achieved. Confidence is built first, and success grows from it naturally, steadily, and sustainably. You have learned that confidence starts internally, with how you see yourself and how you speak to yourself. Your thoughts shape your actions, and your actions shape your identity. When you change the way you interpret fear, failure, and doubt, you change the direction of your life.
Confidence does not require perfection or certainty. It requires honesty, courage, and consistency. This book has shown that fear and self-doubt are not enemies, but signals. They appear when growth is near. When you stop avoiding discomfort and start engaging with it intentionally, confidence becomes stronger. Through small actions repeated daily, you build self-trust. Through resilience, you learn that setbacks are not endings, but lessons. Each challenge faced and survived becomes evidence of your capability. You have also explored how confidence expresses itself in communication, relationships, and boundaries. True confidence is not loud or aggressive. It is calm, clear, and respectful. It allows you to express yourself honestly without needing approval, to listen without losing yourself, and to choose relationships that support growth rather than drain it. Discipline and habits have shown you that confidence is not dependent on mood. When your actions align with your values, belief becomes stable. Vision and purpose have given direction to your effort, reminding you that confidence grows faster when your actions are meaningful. Success, as you have seen, is not a distant reward. It is a process shaped by clarity, responsibility, and consistent execution. As confidence deepens, it becomes identity. You no longer try to appear confident, you live it. Your decisions come from alignment rather than fear. Growth becomes natural and comparison loses its power. At this stage, confidence extends beyond personal success and becomes legacy, impact, contribution, and influence grounded in integrity. Most importantly, this book has shown that confidence is a lifelong practice. It will rise and fall, strengthen and weaken, but it can always be rebuilt. You are never starting from zero. Every experience adds to your understanding and resilience. Confidence grows when you choose to trust yourself again, even after doubt, even after failure. Success, when built on confidence, feels different. It is not fragile or exhausting. It does not require constant validation. It feels earned, balanced, and meaningful. It supports a life that is intentional rather than rushed, authentic rather than performative. As you close this book, remember this. You do not need to become someone else to succeed. You need to become more aligned with who you are capable of being. Confidence is not about eliminating fear. It is about moving forward with it. It is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. And it is not about reaching an endpoint. It is about choosing growth every day. Build confidence, and success will follow, not as pressure, but as a natural result of self-trust, clarity, and purposeful action.